Today's guest on the What Fuels You podcast is Nick Hughes. As the CEO of Founders Live, Nick Hughes is a successful American entrepreneur with business achievements in social media, digital payments, and e-commerce. He excels at interpersonal leadership, communication, business, and product development. In addition to creating the global startup marketplace Founders Live, Nick stays busy as an advisor to numerous startups and occasionally takes positions in sales or biz dev roles as needed. Previously, he founded the mobile payment startup Seconds, and he helped start CoinMe, a company built around expanding Bitcoin and digital transactions into the physical realm via Bitcoin ATMs. As a sought-after advisor, entrepreneurial speaker, and writer with guest appearances on popular technology and media outlets, Nick enjoys helping others discover their unique entrepreneurial path and is on a mission to elevate entrepreneurial equality around the world. Welcome, Nick. Good to see you.
Pleasure to be here. This is really fun.
I got a little tongue-tied, but I started talking about like Bitcoin. My brain is going crazy because all of a sudden my son is into this stuff. And this is like the word of the hour.
Yeah, well, there's a lot of them. And, the funny thing, as you mentioned in that intro, that's crazy you picked that up because I'm just going to kind of say this is the way the world works and the universe works. Is I was just looking at right before I got on the podcast, CoinMe, I just got an email saying it's turning 7. And I was a part of there was like 3 people. I was like the third person. I was not a co-founder, but Neil Berquist in Seattle, reached out to me and had me come a part of the team to help launch that. And it was like the first Bitcoin ATM. It was like the 7th one in the United States.
We're going to start with some rapid fire. You ready?
Let's do it.
Okay. Since you're Mr. Traveler, I think you're even in an Airbnb right now, like launching your business all over the country. What's your favorite city?
Cape Town, South Africa.
Oh, wow. Okay. I'm going to add them, writing this down.
Cape Town is a beautiful city. It's kind of at the point at the south tip of actually the continent of Africa. And so South Africa, it's beautiful. Obviously, the country has some challenges as all countries do, but Cape Town is just an amazing city. So that's the one that stuck out over the last couple of years for sure.
I love it. I want to hear all about all these different places you've been traveling. I'm kind of jealous. I got to be honest. Okay. What is the best way, aside from getting on stage, that you access your kind of adrenaline rush?
Oh, I think it's, that's a good question. Cause I think stage and being in front of people is the way I do it. I guess I would just say this, that, I just love to try new things. And sometimes it's not the big ones. It's not like, I'm not talking about like
bungee jumping.
Skydiving, bungee jumping. I actually haven't done that yet, but I just, let's put it this way. I'd love, because I've been traveling a lot, just being dropped in a new city and just like going down like random streets and corners and like, side streets and learning the city and like get going and, end up going out and meeting some random people and having fun. So I think that it's pretty safe. It's not jumping out of an airplane.
But that's a good adrenaline rush. I love that.
Yeah.
I totally get that. So, okay. So if you had any superpower, what would it be?
To go 30 seconds or a minute in the future and know what's going to be said or done. What was going to happen in literally like 1 minute.
I feel like that would take away from all your charm though, because you're so good on your feet.
This is true. But wouldn't it be interesting to have a little edge on that? And I'm not talking about like know the future, like 5 years out, what's going to happen. I'm literally just like, could you do a little mini step? Because I think a mini step would actually give you such an edge on everything, either personal life or business. So,
okay. So you're Mr. Fitness. How do you like to stay in shape?
Oh, this is such a great question because, I've been primarily living on the road in various cities and Airbnbs for like the last 2 years. And, when you go before that, if you have like a gym that you go to or go lift weights, I mean, that's all set and you know where to go and it's consistent. So being in new cities all the time, you got to figure it out. And so what I do, little tips here, everyone. My calendar tells me it has that in the morning. I work out in the morning and it's just after my meditation, it's workout. And there's some days where if I've worked out 2 or 3 times days in a row, I'll, just delete it and not have a workout day, but I go out and run. I actually recently, I bought this like little bag kit that actually I have a couple of push-up handles and then some bands. And I just like take this bag. And so I'm actually in Atlanta right now. And so I, recently got here. And so I found my place where I'm going to work out, where I went and worked out the other day, and I've run with this bag and I go and I do a strength workout some of the days. And then some of the days I do just like this morning I went on like probably a 4 mile run. And what's amazing about that too is you learn the cities and all run down the streets and like look at these houses and be like, I wonder who lives there. Like, I wonder what this life is like. And, I've done that in, Boston, in Harare, Zimbabwe, in Buenos Aires, Argentina, in London. And so I've just ran, for me, like that's the consistent thing for me is any city I've been in, I will go run around these neighborhoods and not only get a workout, but just kind of like see what life is like. So it's pretty cool. That sounds
super fun. I love it. Okay. Since you're constantly meeting entrepreneurs and leaders, I'm curious if there's a leader that you most admire or want to meet.
I'm going to say 2 answers here. One that's alive and one that's not. So I would say the alive, it would be, I would really, really love to sit down with Barack Obama. I think he would be an amazing conversation, and just really been impressed the way that he handled his years in office. And then not alive would be Benjamin Franklin. I think that Franklin was, in terms of our history, was probably the first real main entrepreneur that mixed like, part of the founding fathers, but also, I mean, what he did back then was like so many different things, from like a printer to actual scientific discovery to creating all like a number of companies. And man, what an amazing dinner that would be with
wow. Benjamin. Can you imagine? Yeah. Okay. So since you're like the Energizer Bunny, I'm curious what you would either get up early to do or stay up late to do. If you're just like, this is the thing that would absolutely keep me up or get me
up. Weirdly enough, I'm finding myself much more in meditation. So this is the twist on your question. I find myself late at night, if I can't fall asleep, I will actually meditate. And for me, I actually put on my headphones and there's literally calm meditation station of music. And it's a weirdest thing. Like, I am so growing right now in this area that it allows me to go to a place, because when you're laying there, and especially as a founder and an entrepreneur, you just have these things going on in your mind. I've figured out a way to go into a different space and calm that down. And so I get up early, or, I don't get up that early, but I get up and immediately do that every day. But if I'm having trouble going to sleep, I will go and do that. So
Good
that
for
to
you.
me, like I'm starting to really figure out that space where you can calm it down. You go into a different place and space, and it's not the like, God, I keep going, like I'm tossing and turning in my bed. It's actually like, I'm going to put that out there. And then it's the equivalent of like, writing it down on a piece of paper, and then now you can go to sleep. That's me. I'm able to do that in like kind of a spiritual. It's amazing.
Yeah. Super important always, but especially in this past year, this kind of idea of self-care and actually doing it. And that's such an important part of it. Okay. Final question. And then we're going to do a deep dive into Nick Hughes. You ready? My final question is there some sort of app that you use every day or that you just can't live without? What app are you using every day?
Let me check. I'll answer it this way. The way that I am living now, Google Maps is an absolute treasure. It's if you realize the way I'm navigating around the world, I'm been in Airbnbs. Like I think I've spent over $35,000 in the last couple of years in Airbnbs. I have when I'm in a new city, you're able to take your phone, hit a button, and a car shows up. So it can take you anywhere. And then when you're in a new city, you have a map. It's an intelligent map right in your hand. So I would say Google Maps is probably the application that I use the most. And I also, when I land in a new city, I'll literally, if I'm like laying there and I can't really sleep for some reason, I'll kind of like check out the city from Google Maps to see where I want to go. And especially where I'm at, like what's around me. Is there parks around? Or like if I'm going to go on a run, like what's my route? Is there coffee shops? Is there bars? Like where am I going to go? And so I can tell you that Google Maps is probably one of the most amazing toys if you actually really dig into it.
Yeah. I need to learn how to use it better. Okay. So I don't even know this about you, which is so weird because we've been friends, I feel like, for like maybe almost 10 years.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know where you grew up. Are you from Seattle?
I grew up in Yakima, Washington.
Oh, awesome. So you're from
Yeah.
this area, but not necessarily. So you're in Eastern Washington.
Yeah. I grew up in Yakima. All you that are familiar with that, it's kind of central Washington and
Central Washington, yeah.
Yeah, definitely, definitely, different than Seattle, and was an athlete. We have a lot of sports going on there. I was an athlete pretty much, through high school up into college, and we're running around like playing sports, and then in the hop fields or orchards, and so it's it's pleasant to go back to, but for sure it became pretty clear that this is not the place that I wanted to.
Mm-hmm. Are a lot of your friends still there in Yakima?
Some of them. Well, some of them stayed, and like if they have family businesses or whatnot, some of them left and then are now back there raising their family. Some of them are obviously gone, but it's an interesting question, which is our group that grew up together are really close, and I am much more closer to my grade school and high school friends than I was for my college friends. You know what I mean? So that's it's an interesting stuff there. But I go there very often.
And how were you as a student? Were you focused on kind of figuring out, I guess as a kid, what did you think you wanted to be?
I initially it was maybe a lot of American younger children want to do this, but I wanted to be an athlete, and I was that kid that no joke, I was that kid that I just remember this, like eating breakfast before going to school, and I'm like, I've got this sports page out, and I'm literally looking at the box scores of baseball or basketball, and I'm like looking at how many hits did Ken Griffey Jr. have, like what's his batting average, like so I'm just like digging deep in this, and I just love it, and I'm just a sports fan in and out. And so, definitely athletics was a big thing. I can tell you that what I do now, I kind of wish I knew what was a possible at that time, that I knew like, oh, you can create a company and you can like build things. And I didn't even know that, like, this is just wasn't even part of my world. So for me, it was, what I knew was, oh my gosh, like, wouldn't it be cool to play a sport and get paid millions of dollars for it? And
everybody
just
would want that.
Play a sport.
Yeah. And you went to Western University and studied exercise physiology, which I loved learning that about you. And you were going to maybe sounds like you worked for the Sonics and the Storm, and you were doing strength training.
Yeah. So check this out. When I realized that I wasn't going to be a professional athlete, I made the like kind of nice little shift of thought to, well, why don't I just train them and work with them and coach them? And, I think that there's a thread here that we can pull on, which is, I studied, human physiology, biomechanics, kinesiology. So really understanding the study of movement. And then I tied that to, sports performance and working with athletes and training people. So I started working with, college athletes, professional athletes. My first job out of school, out of university or Western Washington University in Bellingham there, was with the Sonics and Storm. And I was the head strength coach for the Storm, assistant, one of the assistants for the Sonics. So literally like really before I was even graduating college, I was going down and like to Key Arena, and I was like there and working with, the practice facility, by the way, is where Bill and Melinda Gates, their
foundation,
their foundation office, that property was actually right where the practice facility was. That was like my office, and worked with those athletes, training these athletes and stuff. And so, at a young age, I think one of the threads, there's two threads I want to point out here. One of the threads was, it wasn't that I was ever thinking entrepreneurship and being a founder, but I was always ambitious. And I was always like, I wasn't the best student in the school. I wasn't the best athlete, but I understood dedication, work ethic, and just figuring it out. And then, I was ambitious enough to like, before I graduated from high school, I'm now like working with these professional athletes. I'm taking them through workouts and training them.
Yeah, those are hard jobs to get. Everybody wants that job.
I know. And I got it through, I had an internship my junior year with the Sonics, and then they asked me to jump on to the team for after when I graduated. And it was really amazing, and I would say the second thread on this was the aspect of coach. What is a coach in general? And a coach helps individuals achieve their best, or helps them push themselves farther than they maybe otherwise would. And I think when you look at what I do now, there's an aspect of coach leadership, being an example that, look, people, we can do more than we think. We can actually improve. We can shift, and we can manifest ourselves into much better people, businesses, entrepreneurs, if we just work hard, measure, and strive. And I learned that like early on, which was a really, really cool thing. And I didn't even know I was learning that.
And so what ultimately made you kind of pivot out and go toward kind of a business route, entrepreneurial?
There was a couple of things. Number one, I had a conversation with the head strength coach of the Sonics, and I remember him saying like, hey, this is kind of like a long journey, and we don't get paid that great. And you're working with athletes that are getting paid 10 or 20 or 100 times literally what you're getting paid. And he's just be aware of what's going on. And so that was it wasn't like he talked me out of it, but I just remember being like, okay, that was like something he's kind of telling me, like, just know the road ahead here. Secondly, when you're either working with professional athletes, or I was then training also in health clubs and whatnot, and you can impact individuals or a small group of people. But I don't know what it was, but I just started to feel this thing where it was like, there's something bigger here.
Right. You wanted to have a bigger influence.
Very much a bigger impact and bigger influence. And I wanted to impact millions of people. It wasn't that I wasn't enjoying changing someone's life or getting them more healthy or helping them perform, but it just, I wanted to impact more people. And I'm just very curious and fascinated with, what's possible in technology. And then this was like kind of mid 2000s, right? And then kind of going into like 2008, 2009, 2010, as the iPhone came out, Facebook was growing, and there was just kind of this interesting shift with a lot of like mobile and technology that was really starting to seep into our world. It just became clear, like, no, this is what I want to do. You can make impact, but you can also there's a lot of opportunity for wealth creation and, great things things to impact people. And so,
Yeah.
I was just pulled. I was literally pulled into it. I basically for about 5 years kind of went this like flip and self-studied. I was that guy. I was that trainer that, at the time I'm like having, clients at a health club, but if I had like a 3-hour break, I would literally be done. I would go to Starbucks. I would like open up a book, or I would read like Business Week, and I would literally study and like what's going on with technology. And then I would like close it up, go back to the gym, and like be in, kind of the trainer.
Right.
And
good for you though.
Right. But it felt really, I don't know what the term to use here. I was going to say something, but I won't, but it's more like, it just felt like I was living not the correct life. And I was like, this is not good. I'm feeling like I want to go that way, even though I'm going here to get paid.
Right.
So I finally like stepped away, and, my job, actually I was working for Boeing in their health and fitness department, like managing some of like their on-site, like entire company, fitness and health, one part of the team that was running that. And I just left. I remember I kind of had a Jerry Maguire moment. I was just like, I'm done. I can't do this anymore. And I remember just kind of like walking out and being done and saying, I'm absolutely committed to myself as an entrepreneur and how I want to impact the world. And that was 11 years ago.
Yeah. So 11 years ago, I know you started Founders Live, 2000, is it right that you started it in 2014?
2014.
Yeah. So you've been at this for a while, like almost 7 years.
Yeah.
What led to starting it? Like, where was the gap that you saw you were trying to kind of solve a problem?
Yeah. Initially, there's two parts to that. The first one was, the origins of Founders Live, which you were, we have a mutual friend. It's kind of how we met. And the origins, actually, we were actually creating conversations and we were recording them. It was called Founders Raw. And, that was like before Founders Live came out. And I not only was I doing that, but I was like, you know what? I think there's more I want to do around this, not just capturing stories and interviewing like people and entrepreneurs. But what I found was, I was at the time, this was in Seattle. I was, that was kind of the tail end of Seconds. That didn't go well. It kind of crashed, and I was struggling. I was emotionally not in a good place. I was, kind of a little bit of an entrepreneur depression, and decided to just put on an event. And it was like March 29th or 30th of 2014, we put on the very first Founders Live event. It was called Feature Friday, and got people together and just want to have a good time, and put together like, hey, this is a pitch competition and let's see what happens. And it turned out it went really well. And there's a format and a formula that we like decided that very first night. Mm-hmm. And so I would just say that the problem was community. The problem was I did not see the community and the like entire structure of a multifaceted in environment, marketplace, experience, events that not only were what in the flavor of Nick or what I wanted to see, but this kind of falls into, we can talk about in a second, but like that really surrounded around core values, and so when you look at back in 2014, there were other pitch events, there are other tech things going on, but did they really include everyone? Did they really have a flavor of encouragement, support? Were they cool? Mm-hmm. Did they have some rockin' music? Just casual rather than awkward, encouraging rather than judging. So we don't have judges. We don't have judges up there saying you were good, you suck, blah, blah, blah. We have the crowd vote. So I think.
And the format, is it still the same? Is it like the 99?
Yeah, 99 seconds, 5 startups, 99 seconds, 4 minutes of Q&A after that 99-second pitch.
How do you find the startups? Do they apply to be on it, or do you, at the beginning, you're finding them, or how does that work?
Yeah, so, as people know in Seattle, we're pretty vocal about, we're looking for, startups and founders of any any type of any orientation or gender, and we really put out that message. So basically, it's you can reach out to the organizers, you can apply, but yeah, it's very well known that when Founders Live is happening, we look for founders. Like we want to highlight these individuals. But just to touch on that last thing real quick, which is and I'm going to make this quick, although the story is longer. I'm going to make this quick because I think we got a lot to talk about. What was so amazing about this whole experience was I just put this thing out there, and in Seattle, it was called Feature Friday, and it just started to take hold. And over 2 years, I was like looking at what was going on. And then I was talking with other people around the world, and not just the United States, but other entrepreneurs around the world. And I discovered that there is a massive, massive hole in the market globally. And there are talented people everywhere in the world. Fuel talent. I mean, you guys are around, you focus on talent. But the amount of talented people in other parts of the world, in other countries, that aren't afforded the opportunities to be successful that maybe we are. Trust me, there's 99% of this world that simply need the right connections, maybe some more information like you and I have, access to resources and capital, and they would have a path to at least whatever relative success that they're looking for. Mm-hmm. That's back in 2014, 2016 wasn't as prevalent, or like it wasn't happening. And even now, I think there's a lot of work to do, but that was like the moment I said, oh my gosh, especially early stage entrepreneurship globally needs an infrastructure, needs an ecosystem. And then when you look at this thing that started to spread to all these other cities, like our pitch events are an entry into this whole entire thing for a lot of people, and they open up doors, and
we're awesome.
Yeah. And it's like, I know, like, I know it's my unique vision, but in the same time, I'm like, is everyone else not seeing this? That like, I don't care if it's Zimbabwe, I don't care if it's Argentina. Damn it, there's people there that just don't have the right resources or opportunities, and we can open that up. And can you imagine what the global impact, or when you like have another billion people that are just good entrepreneurs creating new businesses, opening markets, like that's going to impact the world.
Huge. But so how do you measure your success with it? When you say like, it's my vision, and you want to go to a Zimbabwe, and there's no voting, and there's no you're not pitching investors, so there's not necessarily I mean, I'm sure it's organically happening, but some stuff's happening out of those events that may not even make it to you, that you're even aware that they're happening. Like, hey, these two people met up for coffee after, next thing you know, they have co-founders, and these ones invested in that one, and now they got funded,
It's such a good question. The simple answer is it's hard. If not, we can't measure like 98% of what's happening, the goodness and the positive. My unique view is like, well, that's what I'm in Founders Live is putting into the world and the universe, that is just the karma, right? Like there's just good, like there are people right now around the world talking about Founders Live that I don't even know what they're talking about, or how do we measure that? But that's part of the karma and the good stuff, right? But what we do measure is obviously it's just, basic metrics around, how many cities we're in, how many events are happening, how many startups they're pitching, what's the result of that?
Tell us the answer to those questions.
We are in about 70 cities globally. We reach about 50,000 people, and that's growing every single week. And that's just our measured reach. So going back what you're saying, there's a metric of about 2x on that. I think we touch about 100,000 people, but essentially our community reach is about 50,000. And then we will probably end the year around 90 to 100 cities launched. And that just means we have what we call a city leader. They are in a part of our team. They're not an employee, but they are the one that says, hey, I'm going to start this and run this. I'm going to build a team locally. And let's say Indonesia. So we're blown up around Indonesia, and we brought on a individual that basically just lit up the entire country. So we're launching a number of new cities, which, by the way, Indonesia is the fifth largest country in the world. They have tremendous startup activity and entrepreneurship there. And again, it's a good example of they're just less connected to the mainland of the United States, at least, than, you know,
and Nick, so how did you fund it? Did you just bootstrap this business? And like, I don't really understand what the business model is.
Yeah. So basically bootstrapped, I raised less than $50,000 to get it off the ground. That was like years ago. And, you know, initially, so the phase one of Founders Live was really around, you know, local and global partnerships. So just doing deals with kind of bigger corporations. You know, we have a great partnership with Amazon. We had a great partnership with Google Cloud. You know, we have, you know, a number of partnerships that you would recognize. And then really this next phase that we are now in is we have built out our now, as we continue forward, our premium membership. And so it's a subscription membership. And we've released our first tier, which is Founders Live Insider, that just gives a lot more, you know, exclusive content behind the scenes. I'm doing a ton of interviews with people, so we're pulling that content around.
Yeah. And that's the thing, that's $100 a year, $12 a month.
Yeah.
That seems really reasonable.
Yeah, it is. And then what we will do over the next year is there's 3 more tiers that we're going to roll out. We're going to roll out a tier 2 very focused on the startup founders. So basically the difference between Insider versus the startup, it's going to be called Startup Growth, is a lot of, you know, resources, education, advisors, information, courses, access to capital. And that's really for growth founders. So we've kind of went from the beginning of like kind of the general public that are like, hey, this is awesome, I just want more, and I want to be an insider, to then we're going to roll out a tiered membership for the specific growth startup founders. Then we're going to roll out, the next one we're going to roll out is, you know, what's really interesting is as we grow this thing, there is a lot of people and companies that are like, hey, I want to sell into this community. This is awesome. These companies from around the world.
Yes.
So what, basically a business partner membership that because we have a marketplace that's starting to grow. And so, you know, for instance, you or, you know, Fuel would be able to like, hey, here's basically our door. Here's our information. Here's where you can get more. But then we have a mechanism to start pushing out like deals and offers, give talks on things, maybe create a course and sell it within Founders Live. So
oh my gosh,
basically
it's endless.
anyone,
like the possibilities are huge.
It is a global marketplace, and we're simply like, this is day one of it. I mean, it's just insane. So, and then the last one, which kind of blow your mind, is also the investment side. So when you look at, as Founders Live continues to spin this, you know, we're in 26 countries around the world and all these pitch events, and there's pitch companies, but there's also a winner out of it. You know, then what's the investment side of this? So basically creating a subscription offering around the data and the information through Founders Live, all the companies that are pitching, the ones that are winning. But, you know, as investors, you're looking for certain segments, you're looking for certain deal flow at the timing of it, and how we build out an offering for the VC and investment side of things as well. And then the goal is just to bring those together, right? So, and, you know, and one of our main things is around, look, VC is just one aspect. Venture capital is not the answer for most global companies.
Right.
So what is the answer? And we're really looking at how we can bring that in and just bring access to capital to more startups around the world. So it's exciting.
It's incredible. And I also know that you've put some intention around, you know, when you say the word access, like access to everyone, people who are in countries that don't necessarily have the exposure, people who don't necessarily have access, and talk about the karma and leaving an impact. That's incredible.
You know, Sean,
I'm curious, Nick, how the business has been. I think we caught up like halfway through this crazy pandemic, and your whole business is around travel and events. And, you know, how has your business been impacted through the pandemic?
Yeah, you know, 2020 was tough for a lot of people. I think the way I look back at it now is I'm actually grateful, and it was a forcing function in a lot of ways for Founders Live. I mean, we actually shifted and pivoted, whatever that word is, but we shifted into full streaming and digital. And what that did was not only help us really, we built into a system of the ability for these experiences. These are not just in-person events that are in a room. So when we have a streaming experience, we can give exposure outside of a city, a country, and whatnot. So to make that shift and pivot was a bit tough. And then we actually we the way I say it is we just pulled up the hood, rebuilt the entire engine, and that took pretty much 2020. So we hit the ground running this year, and our new format, from streaming to then the digital, the community, to our membership. And then the last thing I'll say is it allowed us to build out Founders Live Primetime. So Founders Live Primetime is our global competition that all the winners of all the cities elevate up to this really cool global competition that's broken up into continents. So we have Primetime North America, wow, Latin America, Europe, Africa, and Asia. And you can imagine now, so what we're doing is all the winners from all of our city events go into this thing, and we have a running yearly, but every quarter there's these segments. Essentially there's qualification. It's another voting mechanism. The winners go up there. People can watch a pitch, the video pitch, which is 2 minutes long, roughly, less than that. They can basically click a like button. It's a voting button. And then we stack rank in each of the regions. And every quarter, we're just taking the cream of the top, putting them in a bucket. And at the end of the year, we have the primetime season. And so we have a big event for each continent. And the coolest thing about that is it now becomes this celebration. And
this is so cool.
Yeah. So there's 5 for each region. It's a pitch competition. It's fun, but we're obviously pulling in entertainment. We're going to pull in some great panel discussions. And you think about it, that's a North America one. And then there's a Latin America one. Then there's a Europe and Africa. And then the winners of that go on and compete at our Founders Live Fest, which is the end of the year, big event. There's one winner. So, I think the theme here is it's a mix of, why the hell not? And how much this opens doors for people. But secondly, let's have some fun. Let's do some cool stuff, that's what I'm all about. Yeah.
It's incredible. As I'm listening to you, and when I think of you, if I just close my eyes, I think of Nick Hughes. I think of fun, smart, connector, energizer. And I think that as I'm talking to you, I'm you're also logistics.
Oh yeah.
That's a whole part of it. That's I'm similar to you. And I love to connect people, and I love putting people into a room, and I love to have a good time. But the whole behind the scenes, all that heavy lifting that seems so effortless for you, that's a skill. That's a major skill. Do you have a team behind you? How many people are
we
supporting
do?
you?
Yeah, we have about right now we're at about 6 people, and we're still looking to onboard them full time, and so we're getting there. And but you're so right, and I think with deeper introspection, it's just funny. I think we're all in this. Sometimes we don't really notice exactly what we do and how we do it and how good we are at it. We just do it, and sometimes taking a step back and realizing because I can tell you that my life totally shifted. I think it was about January. How I don't know about you, but the pandemic there was just this energetic, all right, we're going to kind of go hibernate for a while, and you do your stuff, you work at home and all that. For me, it was after the new year, I was you know what, I'm going to get back. I got to get back to traveling. I got to get back. I need movement. I need movement to then get my momentum back, to get my confidence and my mojo. You know what I mean? So, totally. My life totally, I just kicked it back in motion, and then it just went massive. My calendar is insane, and I will be a self-admitting I do too much, and I just do it because you just get it done. And
yeah, but sometimes people can judge that, but it might give you energy. Yeah. Different. You get a different type of energy than other people might. And That's who
I
you
think I
are.
do. I think I do, but I also like I'm at that, this stage as a leader, like there is this like I'm hitting that ceiling and it's like,
Yeah.
okay, now we got to like restructure, and you're talking about logistics, and now it's like, okay, we got to like revamp the team because we just like leveled up,
Yeah. Well,
and
you're kicking it into a whole nother level
oh,
now
it's
with this whole
insane.
digital platform
Yeah,
and
it's
going
insane, but
global
it
and all of
is,
it.
I can tell you that it is mostly, some days it's like but mostly I am so happy, and it's the coolest job ever,
That
you
makes
know.
me happy. You deserve it. So, what are your goals for the business and plans? Like, what should we be excited about looking forward to?
Yeah, well, I there's one more thing I'll say after this, but I think I just kind of said it like in terms of prime time. We
Yeah.
we beta tested this last year just at a really low level, and so we're really excited about this year. Prime time basically is going forward. It's going to be Q4 of
Yeah.
every year, so starting in October. So we're really really excited about prime time. We're also excited about rolling out this new brand that we're creating called the Inspired Ones, and really I've been focusing on the convergence of creativity, entertainment, and entrepreneurship. And so when you actually think about like entrepreneurship over the last 20 years, and you look at like these, artists, musicians, athletes, what's crazy is they are entrepreneurs as well. And I think it's tied to the advancement of technology, social media, and influencers. You now have these amazing, like, because back in the day they were just athletes and they made some money playing football or basketball. Well, no, they're brands now. And how do they build their brand? How do they look at the world and build company and influence and business? And more importantly, they're now starting to invest. So Will Smith has Dreamers VC. Carmel Anthony is doing a ton of investments. You name it, like Russell Wilson and all these people, right? So we're excited about actually creating a show to bring on these people to get what inspires them. And then more importantly, hey, Will Smith, you're just an actor. But in reality, no, what else what is your purpose? What is your why? What do you want to be remembered as? Because I'm seeing that these individuals are creating many, many more purposeful things off the screen or off the field. And we want to capture that. But then we're going to bring in our winners. So our early stage founders to like join on stage and pitch, and then get feedback from these individuals, and then feedback from the audience. But the coolest thing is in this environment, we can have people that are watching. It's a live show, so people can ask questions. They can actually type them. They pop up. There's a queue, and we can pull people on screen, essentially on the stage, and they can ask questions and interact as well. So we are really excited that we are launching, the Inspired Ones. It's basically a live show that happens every Wednesday, and we are intent on having, names that you really, really recognize
When are
that
you
you
going to
might.
launch it?
Well, we've soft launched it already, but there's a public, basically, we are holding these every Wednesday at 6 p.m. Pacific time now,
Oh,
but there
great.
will be a much larger, it seems like, and it looks like from Facebook, a much larger launch of this app. It's called Hotline, and their new drop-in audio experience, essentially a room. And that will be in kind of early to mid June. And
Oh my gosh,
so,
I'm so
yes.
excited.
So it's
So,
just
so
like,
proud of you. Like you have just,
thank you.
I've loved watching you grow and just continue to crush it. My ultimate question for you is what fuels you?
It would have to be, I think Founders Live orients around the word inspiration. So what fuels me is not only the inspiration that we create, but you know what? And I just saw it today on screen, is like when these people are like so nervous and it's their first thing, and it's like the raw, nervous, early stage rookie founder that gets on stage and just does like is taking the steps to do their thing.
Yeah. But you're
Because
giving them
like
the platform, making them feel safe to do it. It's such a
it
gift.
absolutely inspires the heck out of me. It fuels
Yeah.
me every day to get up, and I'm excited because that's my life for a
Yeah.
long time and the rest of my life. And that that's what fuels me, is just like the people, the sparkle in people's eye. That idea might not work, but you know what? I want to see that person succeed, and how we can build that out globally. It's going to be really exciting.
Well, I'm excited. You've been such a gift to our community in Seattle, and I'm thrilled to see that you're spreading the love, not just nationally, but internationally. You're just taking over the world. I love it.